if you have Aquarius in your 10th house, then what that means is when the moon is transiting on that day and when it's in Aquarius, that means that it's in your 10th house. Now, if you just look at, as an example, on AstroSeek, they have a current planets chart, and it just shows you the snapshot of the sky right now. You can move it forward, you can move it back, you can let it run. It's not oriented towards your energy, which is why you layer it on top of your natal chart. And you can do that by saying, okay, well, I know that these are where all of my houses start. These are where all of my planets are degree-wise. So it's one and the same. So you would look at it and know the moon will be in Aquarius. And on the random collective chart, there's maybe houses that are attached, probably based on the Demo Mundi, but you're looking at yourself, because if you just say, oh, it's in this general kind of collective chart and it's in the 7th house, okay, but that's to no one. That's like for the planet. It's not looking at you. So you'd want to look at for your chart, and for you, it's in the 10th house. Gotcha. Okay, so I understand your question. So so that's like the next level. So if level 1 is, here's my natal chart, I want to understand what my moon means by being in the 9th house, presumably in Capricorn, unless it's also in Aquarius, and depending on your house system. So it's in one of those signs. That has a baked in understanding. So then, Trish, you can say, this is what my moon means. Boom. When you have the transit moon on top of it, we are taking the chart of the sky and layering it on top of our chart. So we're placing that transiting moon into that area of our chart, and it's activating Aquarius, activating specifically in this case the 17th degree of Aquarius. The third step is you can say, what degree point is my natal moon at, or any of my other planets at, in relation to 17 degrees of Aquarius? So if your moon is in the 9th house, but this full moon is happening in the 10th house, that tells you they're likely several degrees apart. If they are, as an example, within 5 degrees, then your natal moon is being activated. If not, then they're just co-present, but it's not engaging with your moon at all. If you had any other planets that are within 5 degrees, or are in opposition within 5 degrees, or squaring within 5 degrees, or trining or sextiling, then those are activating other planets, other houses in your chart. So that's like the next level. So for any of the transits that we're going through, you can do that, especially when we're talking about a specific degree point. If we say a whole sign, like Mars moving through Libra, it just means checking anything that has a connection with Libra. So opposite, Aries, square, any of the cardinal signs, sextiling 2 signs away. As Mars transits through, is it going to be aspecting anything and figuring out those days and figuring out those energies? So it ends up being a lot. For this, we just have, which of course you can do. For this, we're talking about just 17 degrees. So we're looking for what's hitting that, if anything. You might have nothing. You might have nothing that is exactly squaring or within range by any of the major aspects happening at that moment in time. So yes, hopefully that answers your question. Yes, makes sense. Thank you for explaining. You are welcome. Of course, if you want to go more in depth to understand all of this, I have different readings. Plus, I have the personal transit mentorship that I'm doing. So that's working one-on-one, either for 3 months or 6 months. And we would go in and talk about all of this and create that structured plan for what are the things that you want to study. Do you want to study just current upcoming transits? Do you want to study anything far out? You want to look back? You want to do a sampling of all of the above, helping you to memorize, start to be ingrained, the different signs, the houses, understanding the aspects, all that stuff. If you are looking for astrology consult, so understanding your chart, then you can head over to my website. I have a bunch of different astrology readings based on your level. So some are more beginner versus intermediate versus more advanced. So depending on what it is that you're interested in, you could book a reading. And then I also have videos on my YouTube and blog posts on my website if you just want to read or learn a little bit about the signs. And also in my shop, I recently released a workshop talking about the 12 zodiac signs and the 12 houses, and that has a nice interactive worksheet. So if you want kind of that baseline, foundational, apply it to everything education on the chart, you can also get that in the store on my website. In our chart, when our natal chart is constructed, it is oriented based on when, where we were born. And specifically the rising sign, which is why it's really important that you know your birth time and your location, because it turns the dial. So what it does is it sets where your rising is, as in typically your first house. And then all of the signs follow from that point. Now, also when you were born, the date that you were born and time is dictating where the sun was in the sky. So being born in Scorpio season, your birthday is in the fall in the Northern Hemisphere. It is likely in October, maybe November. So that's a whole month period where the sun we know is in a certain section of the chart. However, depending on when you as an individual were born and where you were born, your chart, boop, boop, is pointed a different way than someone else who could be born also in Scorpio the same day or, 10 years before, 30 years after. And so because of that, your first house, your sixth house, your seventh house can be in a different sign than in their chart, even though you're both Scorpios. So all it's indicating is that the sun is in Scorpio. It doesn't say anything else about the rest of the chart. So you could be a Scorpio and the Scorpio sun happens to be in your seventh house. And that's because you could be likely a Taurus rising. Maybe depending on the houses, you could be a Aries rising, or you could be a Gemini rising. Those are really the only options. Most likely Taurus. And for somebody else, the Scorpio sun is somewhere else, and that's because house-wise, and that's because they have a different rising sign. So that's why it really matters what your chart is when we're talking about transits, because your natal chart is going to be different. It's very, very customized to you. Hence why you can have twins and they're born like a few minutes apart, and that few minutes apart could matter because all of a sudden a planet's in a different house, or like it's aspecting and it wasn't aspecting before. But if you have people born completely different years, days, countries, it really is going to completely orient their chart. So even though you have something in common with someone and go, oh, we're fellow Scorpios, it doesn't mean that when that area of life is activated, that it's activating a similar energy. So yes, great. So Misty, that means in your example, if your sun is in Scorpio, but then you're a Scorpio rising, it just means that they're both oriented towards that 12th or first house. But then for Jackie, as the Aries rising, also I'll mention Jackie just for the fun fact, is that Aries is like one of the more rare rising signs, so feel special. That Aries rising is because her chart is completely oriented differently than your chart, Misty. It means that like your charts are like click, 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 7 spots. So they're just completely oriented differently, even though you both have the Scorpio sun. So it has to do with the interaction between the placements. So where the sun is totally different than how your chart is oriented, which is why you have to know all of those different pieces in order to understand the labels behind it.